Did you decide who you are? Have you written your own story? Or if you are honest with yourself, did the world and your life and the experiences that you've had dictate and define who you have become in this moment here and now? This has been something that I have been grappling with for a little while now, over the last 6 to 12 months, and that human question of who am I? Who have I been and how did I get here? Sitting in this season of being and becoming. And it's a question that I wanted to share with you as I kind of give you a life update and around writing a book, being a single mum, being an international athlete, and redefining and having the courage to really walk with my heart. And what has come about in asking that question, who am I, is some very serious self-reflection of the things that I didn't think I was, like a people pleaser, being able to say no and hold that no, being able to speak my truth unapologetically and bravely, just straight from the heart, without then having that spiral of going, what will people think? How will it be received? And have I really written my own story, or have I allowed other people and the world and life experiences to define me and dictate who I am and who I'm allowed to become and how far I'm allowed to spread my wings and how high I'm allowed to soar? If you are new here, my name is Chantal Thompson and I'm a proud Barkindji Yimpa woman. And this is my journey to becoming the warrior heart, sharing my journey through and my story through motherhood, through being an Indigenous woman, through being an athlete in Brazilian Jiu-jitsu, and through being a social and sports entrepreneur, telling and sharing my story with the world in my own season of becoming, in moving from survival to sovereignty, in raising the baseline of my nervous system, of my story, of my life, and what enough, what safety, what protection, what survival mode look like, and of sharing my journey of being the Barkindji warrior and becoming the warrior heart in my own life experience, and understanding that as the seed and the source of everything that comes from me, if the seed and the source are well, everything else just becomes a flow-on effect. If you are new here, hit like and subscribe. And I would like to take this opportunity to invite you into the Warrior Heart Becoming community, a free community over on School, where you can get more in-depth behind the scenes experiences, opportunities to connect with other women who are on their own becoming journeys and really stepping into their sovereignty and redefining what being and becoming looks like for themselves first, and then allowing the rest to be a flow-on effect for their families, for their legacy, for their loved ones. And if you're really keen, and I would love your support in pre-registering for the early release of my book, The Becoming the Barkindji Warrior, which is due out in March 2027, moved from the original launch date of October due to life events. But if you would like to know more about my book, Becoming the Barkindji Warrior, or you would like to join the community over on School, hit the links below. Becoming is a word that has been resonating with me lately and has been really speaking to me about who am I? How did I become this version of me? How did I get to this life that I have created? And who am I becoming, or who do I need to become? Because here's the thing, I know where I'm headed, and yet I've still been spinning my wheels. I still feel like I'm stuck in survival mode with barely meeting the baseline. And I realized it wasn't where I was going that I needed to be asking myself. It was, who am I becoming in this season? And not having the clarity on that answer. And it doesn't even, and I realized it wasn't even the woman who is the black belt world champion, is the multi-million dollar business and entrepreneur, is a global speaker and published author. That feels too far ahead to imagine her mannerisms and her way of being and doing. instead, what is the next version of me? I've been trying to jump too far ahead, and my nervous system and my brain chemistry just aren't there yet. So in this conversation, I want to share with you just a behind the scenes update of where my life is at, the lessons that I'm facing right now, and sharing some updates and news around what's coming next. And this is a Warrior Heart Yarn with Chantel Thompson as the Barkindji Warrior, and just a Chantel the woman and the mother, a proud Barkindji Ngimpa woman, on the journey to becoming myself and coming home to myself. I've noticed a lot out in the world where so many people are leading, so many people are showing up and getting work done, and then there's so many other people who are just either lost or just on autopilot. And I see so many powerful women leading, but also leading from burnout, loving from survival mode, and living from self-abandonment. And I was one of them. I am one of them. And really asking that question of, what does love, life, leadership, and legacy look like in this season? Because what I realized, the unconscious conditioning or narrative the script that I was running in the background of who I was allowed to be and what I was allowed to have, was in contradiction with each other. I was in a fight in my own body, in my own mind about, I was comfortable being a world champion, and I was comfortable being a single mom and everything, but I wasn't comfortable with sustained success. I wasn't comfortable with consistency and sticking with one path and holding that path, and being well within myself and being resourced and having a healthy baseline in my life. And I realized that my nervous system was used to survival mode. My mind ran this script of, you're only allowed so much success, and then you have to pull yourself back down so that you don't overstep those perceived lines of what I didn't want to lose more people. I didn't want to face more judgment or questions of things that I've internalized around who I'm allowed to be and what success looks like. And then I realized the reason I'd ended up here is because I was so focused on the external version of my journey that I had neglected my internal journey of leading myself first before trying to lead the world or impact or others. And I'm now sitting with that insight of going, well, what does leading myself look like? And going on this journey of depression and collapse, and having some success and then spiraling, and then getting into crisis mode again of going, the rent's due, or these big things due and I don't have the resources. Quick scramble, make shit happen. Then that thing happens, and then the spiral happens. And this has been my life for the last 2 years. I'm just done with survival mode as a way of life, and barely making ends meet, and being in sort of this crisis and scramble and spinning my wheels. But in order to move forward with my business, with my income, with my training, with my dreams, with my role as a mum, I had to get real about what my journey was with myself. And that's the biggest journey I've been running from. I thought I was showing up until I really began to sat with it over the last 3 months. And when I realized and I started to document how much I'm actually showing up to the real work that's going to move and raise the baseline from this survival mode to being able to be healthy and regulated and grounded, the gap just felt like the Grand Canyon. And also, when I started to document and get real about my current circumstances, the shame, the guilt, and the grief got to me, and I internalized that. Rather than feeling it and facing it, I allowed that to dictate the narrative that was on repeat. And my heart and my vision wasn't stronger than that shame and that guilt and the spiral of collapse. And my environment, my physical environment where I live and how I'm living weren't nurturing and weren't stable enough to support where I am and who I am and the work that needs to be done to get to that next level. So I realized I needed to start to shift my external and my internal environment to support that deeper work of raising my baseline, of raising my nervous system, and not necessarily about reshifting my mindset, but about rebuilding my capacity to show up and to be consistent in that showing up. And that was quite confronting to realize I thought I was doing the work, but really I wasn't even touching the surface of what would be needed to heal, to show up, and to continue to build my capacity a little bit at a time, moment to moment, from decision to decision, and then the actions that I would choose to follow up on. And the gap between knowing the choice I needed to make, but then choosing a choice that was driven by my pain and my past and my habits, rather than choices that would help me. For example, I usually get up at 4 a.m. The healthy version of me, when I'm strong and I'm capable, gets up at 4 a.m. And I do my mindfulness, I do my cultural practice, I move my body, I journal, I breathe, I visualize, I ground. And then I will do some study, I will do some work, and then I will train at 6 o'clock, and then I'll go about my day. But over the last 3 months, I've been struggling to get out of bed. I've been in high levels of depression. And I've been judging myself for that. And it just became this vicious cycle. And it finally got to a point where I realized I can't mindset my way out of this. I can't beat myself up way out of this. I had to really start to look for external supports and resources. So this is when I started my journey of going to find a new doctor, of starting to speak to my doctor about getting some real help. And it was my doctor's suggestion that I start counseling, that I look for financial counseling and mental health support, but also around potentially exploring diagnosis around potential disorders that I may have or be experiencing, like ADHD or depression and other things. And that having those diagnoses will help me better understand myself and how I can meet myself to then be able to do the work of healing and raising my capacity for who I'm becoming. And that becoming and being the gap between the two. Because I realize that no amount of wishing, no amount of crying, no amount of beating me up, like no one's coming. It's just me. And I recently listened to a podcast episode that I did. I don't usually listen to my own podcasts. I listened to a podcast episode that I did with Sam Johnson from Impact Policy. And I really sat and listened and go, how do I connect with that version of myself, the woman I was in that moment, and the courage and the conviction she has in her own journey. And so now I've decided to step away from all leadership roles. I'm stepping down from any sort of external leadership roles outside of leading myself and outside of being a mum and building my business, because I'm barely leading myself and I'm barely showing up for my kids. So I shouldn't be in leadership positions with other people. That was the first step. It was going, where are my resources and where are my responsibilities spread right now? And realizing I need to cut off anything external that's not directly connected to myself and my mental health and well-being and my role of being Chantel the woman, Chantel the mum, and Chantel the business, because the business is the thing that provides for my family, but the woman and who I am dictates how I show up as Chantel the business and Chantel the mum. And that took a lot of courage, and letting go of my ego and my shame and my guilt of going, I wasn't really able to show up for those roles. So that's life at the moment, is realizing I need to cut off all external things that are taking me away from myself and the core of who I am and my core roles and responsibilities, because until that is stable and well, until a woman, the mother, and the income, the entrepreneur and the business is well and thriving and succeeding, and there's overflow, there's capacity, there's resources there, everything else has to wait. And that feels good to be at that level of clarity, because it took me too long to get there. And there's going to be a lot of cleanup in the interim. Jiu-jitsu is an interesting thing at the moment. My journey to black belt world champion is, I haven't been able to show up for my training. I haven't been able to show up for the business that builds the resources for the athlete. My book was meant to be coming out in October. So many different things. And yet the journey still calls me. And I'm sitting here with so many different things to do, and yet being able to breathe and just be in this moment, and sitting with going, it's okay to start again as many times as I need until I don't need to start again anymore. And that's the journey right now. So jiu-jitsu right now is that I'm making a big move in October, November that will be life-changing for me and my family, for my business, for my journey, and for what comes next. And it feels so right in my spirit. And it's not the direction I thought I was going in, but it's the one the ancestors and the universe have said, this is where you go next. So I'm currently ranked number 1 in Australia with my jiu-jitsu. And I'm so excited for this move in October, November, because it really will set up everything else. The mum, the woman, the athlete, the business. And that's something I'm super excited for. So this weekend, as of recording this, it's the 21st of July, 2026. I'm heading to Queensland State Championships on Friday, which are being held in the Gold Coast. And this will be my 3rd state championships this year. I've done Victoria and New South Wales so far. Currently hold the ranking of adult and masters black belt champion. And then August 14th and 15th is nationals. And then I fly out to Las Vegas on the 24th of August to compete on the 29th at the AJP Las Vegas Grand Slam. And then on the 3rd, competing in the Masters World Championships. And I'm super excited for this. And I'm also grateful that I had the courage to keep going and to trust the bigger picture, and the fact that I didn't allow today's reality to steal tomorrow's potential. And that's something I've had to keep saying to myself, is one step, one seed, one choice at a time, one moment at a time to lock in. Because anytime I try to think bigger than that, my brain's just like, let's just go to bed, let's just sleep, let's just numb, let's just shut down. And I wish I had more capacity. I wish I was the version of myself that was the higher capable version of me. But right now, this is who I am. And I realized that I was internalizing and weaponizing my past success and judging past success to where I'm at now, and punishing this version of myself for not being who I was in the past and ending up here and not being able to do what past versions of myself have been able to do. And I had to really lean into forgiveness and self-compassion and really find that line between accountability and responsibility and compassion and understanding for who I am in any given moment. When I have more capacity, great, lean in, lock in. When I don't, breathe and go, what's the smallest next step I can take? What's the next best action or choice or step that I can take that can keep the momentum going? What's changing, what's moving, what's growing? And then when I do collapse, instead of judging and shaming myself for that, Get curious and go, okay, where and when did I collapse? How can I catch myself? But also, what led to that collapse? How can I change that? How can I recognize the signs earlier? So that instead of collapsing for days or weeks, it can become hours and then hopefully minutes. So that's jiu-jitsu. The business is growing. I've got speaking gigs, the Becoming the Barkindji Warrior, the Girl Who Stayed and the Woman She Became is coming along. I'm so excited that this is available in March of 2027. And I really want to invite you to check out the link below of Becoming the Barkindji Warrior, where you can join the founding circle of early readers, early adopters of the book, of the journey. And in these, I share behind the scenes of what I'm doing to write my book, the insights I'm having, small readings from the book itself. And you can also pre-purchase your copy of Becoming the Barkindji Warrior, which will have special benefits for those who are invested in coming on the journey with me. So make sure you check out the link below. And if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe to this channel or to my socials, wherever you are finding this message, because that helps you to stay up to date. And that also helps me to reach more people with my journey, with the story of becoming and the warrior heart. And I just want to see more people succeeding. And the reason I'm sharing my journey in this way and documenting it is because I want to document my journey of becoming a black belt or champion, of building my baselines, of building my business and my brand, and my journey of culture and motherhood and being an athlete and being a storyteller. Because I honestly believe that that example matters so much, shifting the power of the human heart and the power of the story of possibility. When others see that you can do it, they then believe the possibility is available for them. And yeah, I'm grateful that I haven't quit on myself yet. Even though I'm not where I want to be or who I want to be in this moment, I'm grateful to be here. And no matter how many times I fail or fall down or I don't deliver on my own words and expectations, that I've got the courage to keep trying until I am that version of myself that is consistent, that is committed, that walks with the courage of conviction, and that is on the other side of becoming. I mean, we're always being and becoming. That transformation is always kind of happening, that growth is happening. And yet, in order to get to the other side, that regulated, consistent, committed version of myself, the only way is through. The only way is sitting and doing the work and looking at what is my next level. I can collapse timelines, don't get me wrong, and there can be quantum leaps. But I realized I was allowing today's reality to steal tomorrow's potential. But I was also punishing this version of myself for not being who I was in the past, and feeling weak and feeling ashamed and guilty and the deepest levels of grief for where I have ended up and who I became in terms of the certain aspects of my life. And yet I still have breath in my body. I still have a beating heart. I still have flowing blood. And that means that every moment is an opportunity to choose differently. Every moment is an opportunity to choose my power and my potential and my purpose over my pain and my past. And I realize that's where I'm at. It's just moment to moment at this point. So that's my life update at the moment. My children are doing well. I'm rebuilding my relationships with myself and my children. I'm focusing on raising my baseline and moving from survival mode to sovereignty in this becoming the warrior heart in my own life experience. And I'm excited to continue to bring you on. Stay tuned for the update around the October-November life change. Like and subscribe for more updates. And I invite you to purchase my book, the Becoming the Barkindji Warrior, or to join the community to stay invested and connected to updates, insights, lessons, experiences, and opportunities. Big love you, mob. And I hope that you are having the courage to walk your own journey and to ask yourself, not just ask the question of who am I, but to be able to sit with the answer and to be able to answer that question. Who am I? By saying I am. This is Chantel Thompson, and this is Warrior Heart Yarns on my journey to becoming the Warrior Heart, my journey to Black Belt World Champion, and my journey to raising the baselines of love, life, leadership, and legacy by being well within myself first. Thank you for being here, and thank you for joining me on this journey.